Alright, hello everybody. Some of you did say that you were having trouble with the House of Quality, so I'm gonna make a short video trying to explain how to create a House of Quality chart. Um, yeah, I was actually browsing through the internet and I found this really cool template on Excel. I'm gonna leave a link to download this in the descriptions below. So yeah, check it out. So this is basically an Excel template. So it makes it quite easy to make a House of Quality. It's a bit different from what I did in class, because as you can see here, they're using different values for strong, moderate, and weak relationships. I used 5, 3, and 1, I think, and here they're using 9, 3, and 1. And the correlation is double positive for strong positive, a single positive for a normal positive correlation, and a negative and a strong negative. So as you can see here, it's slightly different from what I've done, but obviously it's there are many ways of completing a House of Quality. So that being said, let's get started. So the product that I'm going to be doing is chocolate chip cookies. Alright, so this is gonna be on chocolate chip cookies. Alright, so I know most of you did your assignment on cell phones or something that has, you know, hard specified engineering variables. So just for a change, I found an example that uses cookies, so I think it kind of relates to, you know, the confusion that most of you are having. Alright, so in these fields here, we're gonna have to fill out the customer requirements. So let's say what the customer wants. So if I were buying cookies, I'd look for let's say needs to have a good texture. It needs to be big, or it needs to have, you know, at least fill me up. So it needs to be filling. All right. Needs to have good taste. Yeah. Good taste. Needs to be cheap, and it needs to look appetizing, right? So it needs to look tasty as well. It needs to look appetizing. Okay, so let's keep it at 5, just, you know, to make this video short. Now, as for the engineering variables, let's say these are stuff that we as a manufacturer or the baker of the cookies could control. So let's say we can control the color. So cookies can be anywhere from white to dark brown, you know, depending on what ingredients you put in it, or color dye, or, you know, whatever. So let's say we can control the color. What else can we control? We can control the sweetness, maybe, or yeah, let's just, okay, the sweetness. We can control the weight of the cookie. We can control the size of the cookie, and we can control the density of chips. Oops. Density of chips. Or let me just make it something that we can measure. Say number of, okay, let's go density. Density of chips. Perfect. Now there are other variables you can put. You can put in, like let me put one more. Let's say cost per unit. Oops. Okay, I mean, you could control a lot of things here. If you were doing this for a pizza, you could control the amount of cheese. You can control the thickness of the crust, etc. So there are a lot of variables you can play around with. So yeah, let's get started. So let's give it some weight. From a rating of between 1 and 5, I'm gonna rank them this time in terms of importance. Oops, I got a message. Okay, never mind. So texture. Alright, so out of the 5, the most important one would be taste, for me at least. So I'll give it a 5. Let's see. I think the appearance would be the second most important for me. I mean, it could change between people. So what else? I'd want it to be cheap as well. Yeah. It needs to be filling, and maybe the texture is probably my least important. Anyways, so let's say that's how I'm gonna rank or weigh the importance of my customer requirements. Now, as for my engineering variables, I'm going to try to cross correlate these with one another. Let's say color and sweetness. I'm pretty sure I'll be able to change the color or change the sweetness without affecting the other one, so I'd say there is no relationship, so I'm going to leave it blank. Color and weight, the same here as no relationship. I think, yeah. The size and the color, yeah, there's not much there either. Let's see, the density of chips and the color. Maybe if we put too many chips, it changes the color. Maybe not. I don't know. I'd say there's still no relationship. The cost per unit and the color, I think I'd leave that one blank as well. So let's see, the sweetness and the weight. Nope, no relationship there. The sweetness and the size, nothing there either. The density of chips and the sweetness, that might be positive, because the more chips you put, the sweeter it might get, right? So I'll give it a medium positive correlation there. What about the sweetness and the cost per unit? Well, if I put more sugar, it might affect the cost, right? So I'd give it double click. I'd give it a weak plus. Next we have the weight. The weight and the color. I don't think there is any relationship there. Sorry, I've already done these two actually. The weight and the size. Yeah, this is definitely a strong correlation between the weight and the size. The weight and the density of chips. I don't know if I'll be able to increase the number of chips without increasing the weight. I'm not quite sure, but I'll have to ask a baker for this, but I'm going to give it a plus for now. You might argue otherwise. What about the weight and the cost per unit? Yeah, it's definitely, if I want to make it heavier, it probably would cost me more, so I'll give it a plus. What about the size and the density of chips? Would I be able to change the size without affecting the density of chips? Probably not, right? Say for example, if I were to use say 10 chips per cookie and I made the cookie bigger, the density would obviously decrease. So I'd give it a negative relationship there. What about the size and the cost per unit? Obviously, the bigger I want, the more it's going to cost me. So yeah, the density of chips and the cost per unit. Yeah, if I want more chips per cookie, then it would cost me more. That is a given. Okay, so That's the relationship I have up there. And now let's start correlating the customer requirements with our engineering variables. Let's see, good texture and color. Not necessary. I don't think color affects texture at all. Color and filling. Nope. Color and taste. I don't know if color affects taste. Probably not. Color and cheapness. Maybe, because if I have to use an extra dye to change the color, it might affect the cost. So yeah, I'd give it a weak. I'd give it a weak relationship, I guess. Okay. What about color and appealing? Yeah, I mean color definitely makes it look appealing, so I'll give it a strong. Okay, so now we have sweetness. Does sweetness affect texture? Probably not. Sweetness make it filling? I don't think so. Does sweetness affect taste? Yeah, that's definitely. I'll give it a strong. Sweetness and cheap? Probably a weak relationship there. Sweetness and the appearance, I'd leave that blank. What about the weight? Weight and the texture. No. Weight and the yeah, that definitely is a very strong relationship there. Weight and taste, probably not. Weight and the cheapness, yeah, that's definitely. I'd give it a moderate relationship there. Does weight make it look different? Probably not. Size and texture. Well, actually, making it bigger might affect the texture. I don't know. Let's give it a week. I would, just so that this requirement gets filled in. Size makes it filling, definitely. Size and the taste, probably not related. The size and the cost, yeah, that's definitely true. The size can make it look appealing, actually, so I'm gonna give it a week. Density of chips. Density of chips can definitely affect the texture, so I'll give it a medium. What about filling? No. I don't know. Probably not. Yeah, chips will definitely make it tasty, so I'm gonna give it a strong there. Cheap. Yeah. If I have too many chips, it's definitely gonna make it more expensive, so it's a strong relationship there. And more chips will definitely make it look more appealing. That's a given. Cost per unit. Texture. I don't think the texture is affected by the cost. Filling and the cost, probably not. Taste and the cost, probably not. Cheap, yeah, that one's strong. And the appearance and the cost, yeah, I don't think that the cost per unit will affect the appearance. So that being said, there you go. That's pretty much my house of quality. The template automatically calculates the value and multiplies this and gives you the weightage and importance here. So if you look at the relative weight, the most important variable is obviously the density of chips. Now when you're presenting an analysis, you have to make sure that you have to say that that the density of chips is the most important engineering variable for baking your cookies. However, it has to be noted that if you want to increase the density of chips, it will affect other variables such as cost per unit, because they're directly positively correlated, whereas it's negatively correlated with the size. So if it's if the size gets bigger, the density gets smaller. It affects the weight and the sweetness as well. So if you want to make any changes to the density of chips, these are all the other engineering variables that it will affect. That being said, yeah, I want you guys to try it out. I know some of you were having trouble making your house of quality. That part is pretty straightforward. You just rate it, like, give it some random variables like so on and so forth, and then you can rate your competitor. I'm gonna name it, I don't know, chocolate chip from Herman's Bakery, from Cafe Soma. I don't know who else bakes cookies. I can't really think of any, but yeah. So Herman cookies might be, I don't know, like that. Oh, yeah, can't make it 7, can I? Okay, so 3. So that being said, here you see how the pink one's us and the green one's Herman's, so you can actually see where Herman's is better than us and where we are better than our competitors, which is basically just made up numbers. So for here, for now, you don't have to stress too much on that part. Yeah, hopefully you understood house of quality. If not, I will try to make another video, or I don't know, explain it to you in class if you're still having trouble with this. Alright, ciao.